Hi, I'm Jeff Gonzalez, president of Trident Concepts, and today I want to talk to you about loading and unloading a AR-15 type rifle. A couple things. First of all, I want you to make sure that you follow safety rules. There are two that we really want to pay attention to. First is we want to keep that muzzle point in a safe direction. So you want to make sure that you don't cover any body parts, and you want to make sure that you're not covering anybody to the side. Typically, we see folks kind of lose control of the muzzle as they're going through the loading process, so keep that muzzle point in a safe direction. Second one is maintain your trigger finger on the home position. So again, the home position for this particular weapons platform is going to be the protective shroud around the magazine release button. As long as you maintain those two safety rules as you're handling this gun, you're going to be a lot safer. Now, there are two conditions that you can load this gun from. The first condition is going to be with the action open. The bolt is locked to the rear. That is the most common method of charging the gun. However, there may come a time when you have to load the gun when the action is closed or the bolt is forward. So I'm going to go through kind of like two different methodologies. The first methodology is going to start with the action closed. With the action closed, you really don't have any choice other than to work the charging handle. Now, there are three ways that you can grip the charging handle. You can use pinch grip, lobster claw, or the judo chop. I recommend that you avoid the judo chop simply because it puts a lot of pressure, a lot of strain on the outboard side of that charging handle. And believe it or not, if you repeat that process over time, you eventually wear out the metal, and at one point you're going to do that, you're going to bend the charging handle. That's a really bad thing. So that leaves us with either the pinch grip or the lobster claw. If you're a righty, most of the time the pinch grip is going to be ideal for you. If you're a lefty, that lobster claw is going to work great. Now, nowadays there's options for you as a ambidextrous charging handle, which allows you to use the pinch grip from the left-hand side. That's great. That's awesome if you choose to invest in something like that. Just remember that if you pick up a gun that doesn't have that feature, how are you going to work it? Now, after that, the loading with the gun with the action open, you could still work the charging handle, or what we use applying the power stroke. You could still do that. There's nothing stopping you from doing that. And the nice thing about that is that you are reinforcing a movement pattern that is repeated in other tasks. So that's nice. You're multitasking, if you will, with that particular technique. Nothing bad with that. However, if you choose to use the bolt catch to release the bolt, there are two main options. The first option is going to be, as I insert the magazine with my left hand, I'm going to use my left hand thumb to push the bolt catch lever inward. As I do that, it releases the bolt. Good to go. The other option is once I seat the magazine, I can then use the heel of my hand to slap that bolt catch to release the bolt. Right? Either one they both have pros and cons. I don't necessarily like the slapping because if you slap inside the middle of your palm, you might miss that bolt catch. You got to make sure that you're using the heel of the hand. I like using my left-hand thumb to go ahead and work that bolt catch lever simply because it's right there on the side of the magazine. As I push it all the way up, it goes right to that latch. Easy day. Now, let's talk about the actual loading sequence itself. So when it comes to your magazine, there are three ways to hold the magazine. First way is going to be what we call a beer mug, which is where the pinky goes on the bottom of the magazine. The nice thing about this is that it gives me good positive upward pressure and downward pressure. Why is that important? Never assume the magazine locks into place. Always confirm that by giving it a good tug down. So you can think of this as push-pull. The next method is going to be what we call a C-clamp, which is where I'm going to grab the magazine and put it in my hand in this fashion. I still have good upward and downward pull capabilities. The last one is more of a pistol magazine type, and I don't recommend this one. This one, yes, I do have good upward mobility, but pushing down, I don't have as much as I do with the C-clamp or the beer mug. So I recommend either of those two. Once you are ready to load the magazine, what I do not encourage you to do is to spank the magazine. Don't seat the magazine, and then as soon as the magazine is seated, drop your hand and smack the bottom of the magazine. What happens when you do that is you compress that spring. As you compress that spring, that top round is now kind of floating in the air, and it can pop out of the magazine feed lips. And if it does pop out, the magazine doesn't know that it popped out, so when you release the bolt, now you've created a double feed. So don't smack the mags. The next thing we talk about is pushing and pulling. So I mentioned this before. As soon as you seat the magazine in, you're going to push it all the way until it locks, and then I need you to make sure that you pull it down. Why is this important? If you happen to load the magazine to its magazine capacity, or you exceed the magazine capacity, there's no spring tension at the top here. And with no spring tension, that possibly could mean that the magazine doesn't lock in place. You'll know that when you pull down. Magazine comes out. If that happens, push, pull, pin with your trigger finger so that it stays in the magazine well, come down, smack, and then pull down. So after you have seated the magazine, go back to using one of the techniques we talked about earlier. So I'm Jeff Gonzalez. Please post any questions or comments down below. Until then, take care and stay safe.